All right. Hey, Tom here, Flip Anything. Uh, Man, it's been a while. I actually uh, changed the employment of some of the folks that work for me, and I don't have a video editor anyhow right now. Um, but I thought I'd catch up. Uh, and since I'm not sure what to talk about right off the top of my head, the easiest thing is always talk about success stories. Oh, who do we got here? And my eyes are going to hell. Khalid, good to hear from you. Um, Man, been very busy. Uh, Getting a little bit of wine here, which I probably don't need. Already had enough, but uh, I thought I'd just catch up and see what's up with everybody. Uh, been made one thing that you always have to do is, doesn't matter what you go after, just go after something. It's probably going to split, the trail's going to split, and you're going to go somewhere else eventually anyways. So main thing is do something. Just do something. I remember, it reminds me of a kid that worked for me. I say a kid, he wasn't that much younger than me, but he seems like a kid. But he wanted a raise from me, and he was trying to get further in one of the companies that I own. And he was talking about he was buying tickets and reselling them for more, like to a concert. And I thought, well, that's great. I mean, and he says, man, he goes, I'm scalping tickets on the side. Like that's a bad thing. I said, well, no shit. That's what I do. I go, what am I doing? I said, I'm always doing something on the side. And since I was 19, I mean, I've been buying real estate on the side. I'm always working. I'm always making a living. I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm trying to make as much money as I can as a worker or as a self-employed person, which I was since I was 19. I was basically just a finished carpenter and a cabinet maker and a contractor, and so that's the difference between an entrepreneur, I think, and people that just sit there and let the weeds grow between their feet. Is you're always doing something on the side. You're always trying to make yourself better. You're always trying to make some money. All right, so Khalid's asking a question here, and I'll stay open for it. He says, I know you've done some great residential and commercial deals. How did you find them? What methods commercial real estate? Well, Khalid, come on, man. You've been watching my stuff long enough. You probably know most of the stories already. And I'll get back to that. But I always have my eyes open. I'm always looking for an opportunity. And I have, like right now, one of the things I do is it seems like I'm busy always renewing leases, because I have so many properties now that all of a sudden I look up and I say, oh my God, these people, they're about to come due. They're about to, time to, release them. And, and then I got to reevaluate the market. And for me, one of the things I do is I always try to stay a little bit below market, because I know if things go down, they're going to scatter, or they're going to try to look for a better deal. But if I'm already a little bit under market in general, market goes down, then I'm going to be at the current market that is down. And I don't mind that. And that's kind of my comfort zone, and that's kind of my it's insurance, because I don't have to worry about people leaving, because they're probably not going to find a better deal anyways. And it also creates, I consider our success shared, with the people that rent from me. I want them to succeed. They want to succeed. I want them to stay. They want to keep paying rent until they can buy their own place or whatever they might end up doing. I don't know. But it's always trying to get to another level. Everybody's always trying to get to another level. So I'll go back to the kid that worked for me. So he says, man, I'm scalping tickets on the side. And I said, what do you think I'm doing? I said, I always have something on the side. I'm always struggling to buy something extra. Always buy another piece of property. Always buy another piece of property. I start other companies sometimes, you know, if I feel like, you know, there's a chance of making money. And I've started companies that haven't gone anywhere. And I have companies I've been throwing money after that for a couple years now that haven't made any money yet. But guess what? I think they're going to. But at some point, when they don't, or if they really aren't going to make it, I have to kind of self-evaluate and go, you know what? It's not your talent, Tom. You ain't going to make money doing that. And I have to give it up. So, but let's talk about some success stories. So, looking for properties. You know, land. Talk about land. And now, Khalid, actually, what was that question you had, Khalid? He said, I know you've had some great residential and commercial deals. How did you find them? What methods for commercial real estate? Okay. So, I'll just tell you one story, and I've probably told it before, but I'll tell it again. And this is actually almost a rock's throw from where I'm standing. I'll tell you a couple of them. Okay, one, it truly is a rock's throw. I've got my little girl, I have 4 kids, but my first daughter, I'm pushing her in a baby carriage, as I remember, or I'm walking her, I can't remember, carrying her or something. But I'm walking down a sidewalk, you know, just that way. And I'm walking and walking and walking. And you can go to one of my earliest videos and you'll see where I talk about it. Well, I'm looking down, you know, I'm walking, and the sidewalk ends. I look and the sidewalk's in, and then it's a dirt patch about 70 feet, and then picks up again, sidewalk. And I look and I go, shit, there's a lot here. There's a lot here. That's why that sidewalk ended here. That's where this guy's property ended. He had a poor sidewalk when he developed it. And then the next property that was developed, it poured with sidewalk. And there was a little piece here. And sure enough, there was a little rectangle, about an acre, and I looked it up in the parcel map, and so I found it, contacted the owner. I said, hey, you want to sell this thing? And he says, yeah, as a matter of fact, maybe I do. And he said, what do you give me for it? Or I asked him, what do you take for it? I can't remember now. But anyhow, we settled up on about $40,000. And I said, will you carry a note? And he said, sure. I said, $10,000 down? He said, sure. So we made a deal. I gave him $10,000 down, and I bought it, and I had a balance of $30,000. And I immediately looked for somebody else. Actually, that one I actually rezoned. And here's something to remember. Always remember this. If you want to rezone a property right now, Christmas time, November, December, that's when you want to rezone a property, because less people don't have any time. Everybody has relatives coming, they're fixing up their place before people visit, or they're getting ready to leave town to go visit somebody else. They ain't got time to complain about somebody rezoning a piece of property. So never forget this. If you're going to rezone a property, you're going to have fewer people show up at the city hall meeting to fight you November and December. So anyways, that's what I did. I rezoned that property, and it cost me like $350, and now I took this 1 acre, and now I turned it into multifamily, because it was adjacent to multifamily, actually. And as soon as I rezoned, it took only about 3 months to get the whole thing done. I was actually very pleased, because this is a shitty city for that stuff. It's just a pain. Everything's kind of a pain, but I got it done quickly. And I put it up for sale, and I sold it for, I think I sold it for $105,000. 3 months after the day I bought it, and probably a couple weeks after I'd rezoned it. And I made 60 grand, boom, like that. And now it was a nice deal, you know. And I mean, this is going back, I'm gonna guess 15 years ago. I don't know. You know, it's a nice chunk of money. It was a nice chunk of money. It would be a nice chunk of money to me to make that much today. Now, but if it was 10 years before that, or another 10 years before that, it would have been an awesome amount of money. You know, I remember making 20 grand, you know, at a pop was fantastic. I like making $5,000 or $6,000 in a pop. And it still is, relative to how much work you do for it. It's a lot of money. And so, again, that's down the street. Now let's go a little further up the street. I'm walking another 5 minutes, okay? Because I always tell you, work the area nearest you because that's the area you can know values best. Well, I told the story before. I'm driving down and I see this little peculiar kind of property off to the side of the road on a very good street, a very affluent area. I live in a pretty affluent neighborhood. And I go, man, that looks, I like that property. It's just a little 1,000 square foot real estate office. Or actually it was an insurance office, insurance office. And so, I keep telling myself I'm gonna call, and the name of the company's right there. And one day I drive by and I see a little old man walking from his car to the insurance office. And the insurance office said closed, so I assumed he owned it, and he was gonna go flip the sign and change it to open, right? So I just look it up, I think the name was Parchment or something. And I look it up, I call, and I'm driving, and he picks up. And I said, hey, saw the property, would you be interested in selling? He goes, no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in selling the real estate. And that was about it. I said, well, you sure? If you ever do, call me, my name's Tom. He didn't want interested. He hangs up. Well, so a week later, I think, about a week later, I get a phone call from one of my tenants on the same street. And he says, hey, Tom, he goes, and this is another insurance guy from a different company. He calls me and says, hey, Tom, I wondered if you'd let me out of my lease so I can buy a property for myself. And I said, yeah, sure, I will. And I said, what do you got going? And he said, well, I got this property I can buy. And then while I'm talking to him, he's talking himself out of it. He goes, you know what? He goes, never mind, I ain't going anywhere. I go, wait a minute. Stop. Tell me what you got. And he says, well, I got this piece of property up the street I can buy. And guy I've known for years, play golf with him. He goes, probably a good reason I should play golf, but I don't. He said he'd sell me a property. I said, well, I just called on that property. And I said, that old man told me no, he wasn't even interested. He goes, I know him, he's a friend of mine. He's gonna sell the business. He's gonna sell his insurance company for like 30 grand, which was making about 80 grand a year. And he wanted to sell the little piece of property, I think for like 110. And I go, I won't say his name. I go, we'll just say his name's Tim, okay? I said, Tim, you've got to buy that property. I said, I am turning my truck around and I'm heading to your place right now. And I drove right to the piece of real estate that he rented from me, where his office is, and I just was heading to it. I said, call him right now, tell him you'll take it. Because he already told me, 110 I think it was. And I said, I'm on my way. And I said, listen, I'll buy it with you. I said, but you've got to buy it. You can buy it by yourself. So I get there, and he says, well, I called him, and he said we can come see him. I said, listen, you've got to buy that property. He was already talking himself out of it while he was talking to me about buying it. He talked himself out of it. He's like, nah, you know what, I'm not going to buy it. And I said, no, wait a minute. I immediately turned around. I'm heading toward him. Got there in 5 minutes. I said, let's go. Gets in my car. I said, listen, we're going to buy that property for 110. And I said, you can buy it by yourself? Because I really like this guy. You see, you can buy it by yourself? I said, or I'll buy it with you. I said, or I'll give you 10 grand and I'll just take it. And so we get there, talk to him, introduce, we say hello, and I just write it up on a plain piece of paper. I said, address of the property, how much, cash, and, hey man, Double G, good to see you. It's been a while. Anyways, and I write, I'm gonna buy, I said, we'll buy it for 110,000, and I put $1,000 down. Boom, we're going into escrow, we got a deal. I'm buying it in both of our names. And we drive back to his place, the other guy, and I said, man, we got it under contract. I said, man, listen, this is a good deal. But he was nervous. He's afraid of real estate. And I said, look, I'll give you 10 grand. I said, I'll buy it by myself and I'll give you 10 grand. Or we can buy it together, whatever you want to do. I don't care. You can buy it by yourself if you want. I said, I just didn't want this one to get away from you. And so the next day, he said, Tom, are you serious about giving me 10 grand? And if I let you buy it? I said, well, absolutely. And so he said, well, I want to do that. I said, no problem. So I went over, I had him assign his interest. I talk about assignments all the time. And he basically assigned his interest in the contract. So it was, you know, Tom and Tim buying this property. Now it's just Tom buying it. And I gave him $10,000 on the spot. I wrote him a check right there. I said, here's 10 grand. And I said, I think I did, or I did it on closing. I had to close the thing so quick anyways. Went into escrow and I paid cash for it. And let me just say, even if you don't have cash, believe me, you could have found cash for this property. You could have found somebody else and just say, look, I'll give you 20% interest. It wouldn't matter. This thing was such a good deal. So that's why I say, people say, gee, Tom, you know, you got to pay 10% for, you know, I forget, what do you guys call that money that you buy? I call it something different. You guys have a word for it. I just call it borrowing money. You guys, when you guys borrow money, short term, what's the term you use for it? I don't even know what you guys use for it anymore. But anyways, you'll find a partner and, anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked here. So anyhow, we made the deal. I closed the deal. I gave him his 10 grand. And I immediately put a for rent sign. Hard money. Thank you. Hard money. Thank you, Fosh. Hey, Fosh, good to see you. Good to see your name anyways. Glad you guys are watching. So to me, it's just money. I don't even think about it being hard money. But hey, Scott, glad you're here. So when you can borrow money, you just do the math. I always tell everybody, it's just math. It's just math. So is it a better deal if I bought this with him? This deal, let's say I paid $110,000 cash and I give him $10,000, right? Okay. I sold the property for like 240 or 280, it's one or the other. 240 or 280,000 3 weeks later. That's all it took. I put a for sale sign on it. Was it retail value? You know what? Let me tell you the story, Fosh. Okay, this is a little tiny piece of residential, or not residential, I'm sorry, commercial property, little road, 1,000 square feet, okay? Nice little street, nice street, nice street. And 4 lanes, okay? 4 traffic lanes and a center lane where you can turn left or right. So I guess technically that would be 5 lanes. So I buy this thing immediately. There's like a billboard sized sign, you know, the size of the wall behind me, that fridge and that oven together, you know, about a 10 foot by 10 foot wide sign. And anyways, so I would put it up for sale or not for sale. I just want to lease it. I just want to lease it, $2,500 a month. So I figure I'm going to get, you know, $30,000 a year on my $120,000 investment. Thing's going to pay for itself in about 4 years, which is a great return, okay? And you do the math on that, I'm making about 25–30% after taxes on my money. So it was a very good deal, even at rental. So the guy that starts bugging me the most to buy this thing, and this also goes to persistence, by the way. This guy, his name was Sean. There's 2 guys, Sean and another guy. And it's a shame because one of them died. But these guys were partners and they wanted a sign company and they owned a sign company. And they called me and then they realized they know who I am because I've been in their store, a sign place, and I've had signs made for the last 10 years for sale, for lease, whatever, you know, different signs that I've had made. And he goes, Tom, you must sell me this property. And I'm like, hey, just give me $2,500 a month. It's a great deal. I said, the sign on the street alone is worth $2,500 a month. I said, it's a no-brainer. Just rent it from me. He didn't want to rent it. He wanted to buy it. And I didn't even know exactly what I wanted for it. I just knew I wanted $2,500 a month rent for it. And so he says, no, you must sell it to me. You must sell it. And he was in a big commercial center, you know, where you'd find like oh gosh, I think there's a PetSmart and there's a restaurant, and an Indian restaurant, an Italian restaurant, and probably a Hollywood Video at that time, you know, the cassette tapes for movies. All that stuff was there. And hey, while you guys are watching, give me a thumbs up, like my video, please, and be sure to share and subscribe. But anyways, so he just wouldn't take no. He said, I don't want to rent. Tommy goes, I want to buy. And I said, and so I threw a number, I think, 280,000. And you know what? He just said, or 285. I don't remember now for sure. But we made a deal. We made a deal. And I made over 140 grand like that. And I said, you know what? I thought nobody wants to rent it. I say in 3 weeks of trying to rent it, really didn't matter. But he wanted it so badly, and he just pushed and pushed and pushed. And so I sold it to those two guys. And there's been a sign shop there ever since. And unfortunately, one of the guys actually, I couldn't believe it. I come in there not long ago. And I'm like, hey, where's Sean? And they said he died of cancer. And nice guy and really, really nice gentleman. I felt bad. He never shared a word about that he was even ill. Didn't know. I talked to his wife later on. Very sweet gal. And they had twins. They have twin boys. I think I have twin boys too. And so we always shared that. We'd talk about it. Mine were just barely older than his, like maybe by a year. But anyways, but back to the deal. That property's worth probably $500,000 now. And, I made, 140, practically in less than a month, and I've gone on to make much, much, much more money and buy other deals. But that's what it takes on both sides of it. They made a decent deal in the long run too, but he wanted it. He wouldn't take no for an answer. And you know what? I sold it to him. And at the same time, I saw an opportunity and I didn't waste any time. Turned around, said, John, we're going to buy it together, or I'll buy it, pay, and you know what I mean? I made it happen. And that's what you have to do. You have to make things happen. And now keep in mind, that's around the corner, walking distance. I mean, a couple thousand feet probably of walking on a sidewalk. The first property I told you that I made $60,000 on, pushing or walking my kid, my little girl, who's a college student now. I'm walking along with her, pushing her in a carriage, and I see the sidewalk in. Boom, $60,000. Walk up the street, boom, another 140. That's $200,000. Okay, that's $200,000 in 2 transactions. That's a lot of money, and those aren't my best deals by any means, but those are good. Those are nice ones, and that's what you can do at any level. Any level. I don't care if you have no money. I don't care if you're 20 or you're 60. You can do that. It's not that hard. It's just about keeping your eyes open and knowing an opportunity when you see it, and being and not hesitating, And you guys know my old story. I don't know if you haven't watched all my stuff, you'll see in the archives of the videos I talk about when I was looking for a beach property. I just sold my company when I was 28. And, I had a piece of land and not a lot of money, but I had, a couple, probably $100,000 in the bank, or at least $100,000 in the bank at that time. And I owned a lot of real estate too. And I decided I want to buy a beach property. And so I'm driving and I'm calling and I'm sending out letters. Well, I'm driving down and I'm looking at a property for sale, right? This is like, as I'm driving down the road, like I'm facing you right now. To my right, beachfront homes. To my left, one off the beach. So in other words, they're across a tiny little street from the sand. And I'm writing down a for sale sign. And this guy sticks his head out of the window of the house next door. And he says, hey, don't buy that one, buy this one. He goes, my mom's going to sell this place. And I go, and I'm yelling back and forth to him from my car. And I go, okay. What's your mom's number? And he tells me, and I write it down. And this is not a success story, but it's a story to learn from. What I say, I forget what I've heard of these in the past. Basically, a lesson. It's a lesson. So I called the lady immediately, called her up right there from my cell phone. This is more than 20 years ago. And I said, this is probably 25 years ago. And I said, hey, your son just hollered out the window, said you want to sell this place? Okay, the place I was looking at next door, it's like $450,000. I call her. She says, I don't know. She says, you know what? I didn't even know if that was $450,000. It was in the 400s for sure, probably. But this property still didn't look bad at all. And she says, you know what? She goes, I just started looking. I don't even remember what I was thinking about. I don't even know if I ever got the price on the property next door. But I called her and she said, I'll take $250,000, $50,000 down, I'll carry a note. She was already a fairly sophisticated investor. I know just by those words coming out of her mouth. And I said, and I'm busy, I'm 2 hours away from where I live. I said, well, that sounds pretty good. I said, okay. I said, let me call you back. I drive home 2 hours. I get caught up in my work. I get, life, right? I go, I got to get on this thing. I call her back. I go, okay. I said, you know what? Let's make a deal. And I realized that's a damn deal. That thing's worth $400,000. So I called her back. I said, hey, let's make the deal. Before, I said, hey, it's Tom. How you doing? I'm ready to go. She goes, he who hesitates gets left at the starting gate. That's what she said to me. And it still resonates. I can still hear her voice. I'll never forget it. I go, yeah, I said, and I was like, obviously I knew that wasn't good, but, first thing I said to her, I said, hey, I'm ready. It sounds like a deal. Let's make it happen. And she said, he who hesitates gets left at the starting gate. And I'm like, ugh. And I go, well, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I don't want to hear it, She said, I just talked to a real estate agent a day ago. I could have made this deal 7 days ago, okay? I've screwed it up. And she said, and he told me that if he would list it and that if he couldn't sell it for $420,000, that he would buy it himself for $420,000. And that's where it ended. He sold it probably for $450,000. But think about that. I could have made $200,000 30 years ago on that one piece of property. But it's because I didn't take action. I didn't know value. Now, you guys know, if you've watched my videos long enough, I stress know value. You gotta know value. Asking me questions about how to make money in real estate without knowing values is almost a waste of time. It really is. Because that's the number one thing. You have to know value when you see it. You have to know, like this house I'm sitting in. If it's worth $500,000, I need to know that. That way, if I can buy the one next door or down the street or on the same block or in the same tract or in the same subdivision, if I can buy the same model for whatever, 200, 300, 400, I know I'm buying it under market. You gotta know value. You gotta know what the value of the properties are that you're looking at. And so that's where I failed. And I could have done it in 10 minutes. Because now, when an opportunity comes up, you guys know I bought a lake house recently. I stole that thing. I didn't even think about it. I told him I'd take it before I even went inside and looked at it. And I bought houses without ever walking inside them because I knew the value. I knew that I know there's 4 walls. I know that there's, a quarter acre lot size. And I know it's, everything's selling for $300,000. I think I'm fine to pay $200 or $150 or whatever. And so, people say, oh, gee, Tom, you got some balls, the way you buy stuff. And, no, it's just math. It's just math. It's that simple. And so the lesson I want you to take away from and that's not a success story, not for me, but it's a learning experience. And that is the money was there. I was the first one there. I was the first one to blow it by not buying it immediately, by not saying yes and just getting it tied up. I hesitated, and I got left at the starting gate, as she put it. So let's look at some of these. Double G looking to buy it. That's Khalid to G. Okay, let's see. I'm going back here. I used your I'm going to pay you to get out of my way method. Okay, I like that. I do that. To an agent on a property that I gave a lowball offer to, and bam, it worked. And my offer got accepted. Man, that's great. And you're saying you use my method on that Double G? Because basically what, if I'm reading this correct, he's saying I used your I'm going to pay you to get out of my way method, which is good. Which, have I ever bought a bad deal? I'll get to that in a second. What Double G is talking about, and it goes to one of my first experiences, and it talks about assignments. And it was John Brooks, who's the one who opened my eyes to assignments. And what it was is I found a property. I think I was getting it for like $110,000 or $170,000, and I knew it was worth $220,000, $250,000. I remember the property well. It used to be a plumbing shop, and it was across the street from probably the first industrial building I bought. And so they were going out of business and anyways, I got the deal tied up where I was buying it for like 100 and, I can't remember, I got 110 in my head, but I think it was 170. And then I looked up, I thought I need somebody with money because I can't buy it by myself. I didn't have the money. And so I called John Brooks, neat guy. He's deceased, really good guy. But I had worked for him. He owned a big steel company, still building structures. And I called him up and I said, hey, John, I got this deal. You got to come take a look at it. And yeah, thanks, Double G. That's great, man. I love to hear that. Yep. So he's saying that's what he's talking about. And so Brooks came over, and I'd only worked for him I worked for him a little bit, and then I rented from him for a little bit. And nice guy. He helped me get my start my cabinet shop. Real reasonable rent, a good guy. And I always try to be like, he's my role model for the landlord that I am today. I try to be like him. I help people. I try to treat my renters like customers. But anyways, so John came out and he said, Tommy, this is a good deal. This is a really good deal. And I go, well, man, let's buy it, let's sell it and make some money, And, I think it was 170, and I figured it was worth 220, 250. And he goes, Tommy, but I don't want a partner. And I was kind of like, huh? What? Where's this going? He goes, how about I give you $20,000 and I just buy it by myself? I'm going to pay you to get out of the way that Double G was talking about. And so I was like, wow, that's a great idea. 20 grand and I'm done and I'm out and I'm clean. And that opened my eyes to it. You can call it flipping, you can call it whatever, but I never had to own it. So I just assigned it to somebody else. And so that's what Double G is talking about. And man, I am glad to hear it, Double G. Thank you very much for sharing. And because I tell people it's possible, it's easy, and you can do it without any money. And, like this guy paid me to get out of the way, and maybe Double G paid somebody to get out of the way. But whether you get paid to get out of the way, and like I always say, you want to get in between what somebody has and what somebody wants. That's the sweet spot, in the middle. What somebody has and what somebody wants. If you can get in the middle, that's what a real estate agent does everywhere, every day. They take, 4 to 6% of every deal regularly. And they kind of get in between. They get in between the buyer and the seller. And that's what you want to do. You just want to get in between the buyer and the seller. But instead of making 6%, you want to make 20, 30, 40% if you can. So he said, yeah, I paid an agent a few bucks on the side. Yeah, I get it. I've done it too. It's cool. And, I'll give you another example. A house I bought probably 2 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. I actually did it for a friend. They called me to look at it. I zipped over there. Her and her son was a new real estate agent. And they're standing at the door, and I come to the house, and I said, how much? They go, $195. I go, gotta buy it. It's a deal. I knew instantly. I knew like that it's a deal. And I said, let me call the agent. I called the agent. He said, well, I already called him. He said he's already got some other people talking to him. I called the agent. I said, you know what? Best thing to do, me to buy this thing direct. And this is, I'm talking to the agent. I said, I'll take care of you on the side. And I said, let me see if I can make this happen direct. Call the agent. I said, look, we got to meet in an hour. I said, I'll pay you full price. And I said, no other agent, you be my agent. Because I know he gets the greater commission that way. So again, I'm trying to incentivize this guy to give me his attention. Not saying, here, talk to my agent who's going to take half your commission. And he's already knows he can sell it instantly because he's already got people, calling like crazy. So I said, well, we got to meet right away. And he says, okay. He said, what about, don't you have an agent? I said, no, you're my agent, just you. And so I said, I want you to meet me at my office and I'll sign the contract and I'll give you a check right now. He said, okay. And so we met over at my office. Well, my office is kind of impressive. I got a big building. I got a lot of, it's obvious that I'm substantial financially just by the company. And I said, so I had him meet me there. And that was not by accident. That was by design. I wanted him to be a little bit impressed with what I got. Like, oh, this guy's going to close. So then we go inside, and I said, look, he actually brought his 2 daughters with him, now that I think about it. And I gave his kids a couple things within the building that are kind of of interest to a kid. And I said, well, look, I said, okay, so let's sign it. I signed the contract. I gave him a check for, I don't know, $5,000 or $10,000 for the, you know, the deposit. And then he says, well, look, I'm going to present it to him. He goes, you know, and I said, man, just get it signed. Let's make a deal. And he said, I think I've already got another deal just as much. I might have one coming in for a little more. And I said, okay, we'll take this and see where it goes. And I said, call me right back if there's any trouble. And I said, but here, let me show you. And so I took out my phone and I flipped through the apps on the two banks that I mostly do business with. And I showed him that I have a substantial amount of money in the bank. So he knows I don't need a bank. I'm going to pay cash for it. It's a deal. Now, not everybody can do that. I know that. But I'm leveraging what I got. I do have that. Sometimes I don't have that. If I didn't have that, I would just say, I got plenty of money, you know, whatever. You know, I'd tell them whatever I got to tell them to make them understand that I'm going to close the deal and make them feel good about me as a buyer. But in this case, I'm showing them that I actually have the cash in the bank. I want to close it as fast as possible. And when he left, I said, look, he says, you don't have to convince me. I said, no, I do have to convince you. I said, I want you to be able to go back to the person that you listed this property for, the person that's selling this property. I want you to look them in the eye and say, look, we got offers from other people, but I know that Tom is going to close the deal. And so that's what you know about me that you don't know about. These other agents that are bringing you offers, you don't know that they have this much money in the bank. You don't know that they're established. And you don't know that they own this, that, and the other, because I told him all the different other properties that I own in the neighborhood. So I made him feel extra good. Now, I know some of you can't do that because you don't have that kind of power, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line is what's relative here for you is you make the person feel good that you're going to close. It doesn't matter that I own all that other stuff. He's going to get both sides of the commission because he represents me and he represents the seller. So he's going to get the whole commission. He doesn't have to split it with another agent. And that's what mainly matters. It doesn't matter that I own all this other stuff. But I'm using everything I got to convince him. He calls me back. He said, Tom, somebody's offered $200. And I said, well, match it. He says, well, he said, man, he goes, I think you ought to just offer a little more. I said, I tell you what, I'll give him 203, I think. I said, I'll give him 203 or 205, something like that. I think it was 205. So I went from 195 to 205. I said, well, they got to sign it right now, and we'll close this thing in a week. And he said, okay. And so he went to him and said, you know, it goes back to my leapfrog. Look up leapfrogging. So somebody offered 200. I just said, tell him 205, close it right away, but they got to sign it. I'm done. And he did that. He got it signed, came back to me. The agent that I told to step out of the way, I gave him $3,000. So I'm just going to give you $3,000. That's about what the commission you would have got anyhow if you were in this thing. And there was no chance you were going to get this commission anyways, any other way, if I hadn't done it the way that I did it. So everybody wins. Everybody gets something out of it. You know, your word's always got to be good. Never burn anybody. I shouldn't have to tell anybody that, but some people need to be reminded. Some people do have good intentions, and then they slack, and then they don't follow through. And it's not a good thing. So, okay, let's see. Going back to Double G here. So Double G said, so she could get out of the way of the lowball offer. This is the story I'm talking about that relates to what I did, Tom. Trust it works no matter if you're bluffing or someone else is funding the deal. What was the price? That's somebody asking the question. But I didn't show the agent apps like you did to verify my income, LOL. Tom, you're right. It's about gaining the trust. Yep. Oh, shit. Sorry. Yeah, he says, yeah, and Double G understands. He said he didn't have the apps and he wasn't using the buying power and the influence that I was showing the money that I got. He said it's about gaining their trust and convince them that you will close. And that's exactly right. And that's what I was saying. You just wrote it, but that's exactly what I just said. But yeah, because it doesn't matter to them how rich you are. What matters is that A, they want to know that you're going to close the deal. And when they're going to get both sides of it, they're going to make more money. And or like he paid a few bucks for them to step aside, and that's fine. I understand. There's all kinds of circumstances where things like that can happen when you do enough of this stuff. But the main thing is from the agent's perspective, they want to make a commission, and B, if they can double the commission by getting both sides of it, that's a good thing too. And okay, Fosh, let's see. No, you know what? Fosh wrote, Tom, do you run comps before you submit an offer? Listen, if it's a property I don't know anything about, or if it's an area that comes up, like I get tapped on the shoulder all the time. I get people email me from all over the world and say, hey, I got a deal. And I'll go inspect that property the way that I can through Zillow or, you know, other means of just looking at real estate in the area, Trulia, different things. And I can quickly tell if it's worth me going into another state to buy something. And so, no, I don't have to run comps. I mean, look at the last 5 properties that I bought live with you guys, pretty much, watching every step of the way. I already know. I mean, I know a house that's probably within 10 miles of me, everything's worth a minimum. I mean, you're lucky to find something for $300,000 5 miles from where I'm standing. Lucky. I mean, you'd have to go all the way out to 5 miles, and then maybe the prices would start to get in that area. So, so no, there's no time for all that bullshit. You need to know. That's why I say concentrate on an area where you already know what everything's worth. You know, and like in this case, in this house, and you know what, guys, I got to share this just so you know this is coming. This same neighborhood that I'm talking about where I bought this house a couple years ago, well, I bought 4 or 5 cents in that same neighborhood. Well, I was in a Home Depot not far away, and I'm in there and I'm looking at some copper pipe, and this guy says, hey, are you Tom? And I look around and I say, yeah. And I thought he was one of my tenants. You know, that's when, you know, I didn't recognize him. I thought, well, somebody knows me. And he goes, you're Tom, right? And I said, yeah. And he goes, from Flip Anything USA. And I go, oh, well, that's the first time I've ever been recognized in public from my YouTube channel. But it was funny. So we got to talking. I made a video, by the way, and I'll publish it here pretty soon. But anyway, it was nice. It was interesting. But he was inspired, and he's been looking at property, and him and his, I believe he said his dad, and I can't remember if his name was Chris or John. Sorry if you're watching. But I'm going to get that video up here before long. That was a couple months ago. But it was interesting. He said, man, he goes, it's really neat. He goes, seeing you know, that you actually do, you really actually are the real deal. Because he's referring to me being in Home Depot because I'm, you know, obviously I'm buying something for one of my properties. And, but anyhow, I'll put that out. But it's kind of neat. But we did a little video and we talked together, and I'll put that out again here pretty soon. So, okay, yeah, Double G's sharing the details on the property, which I'm interested in as well. He said it was listed for $30K. I offered $10K. They counted at $15K. He counted at 12.5, and they counted at 14. And he said, and I counted for them to pay the title fees, and we got the deal. Okay, Double G, I got that, but explain how you paid somebody to get out of the way now. Who did you pay to get out of the way? There was an agent that was going to list it? Yeah, I believe him and Fosh were going back and forth talking about the deal that he made. So it started at 30 and ended at 14. It sounds like it ended at 14.5 or 12.5. And seller paid the closing cost. And he wrote, okay, he's in Kansas City, and he's calling it ghetto housing. Wow. So, Double G, though, how did you get the agent out of the way? All right, well, you tell me that, Double G, and I'll ask. Fosh says, do you target higher end zip codes or lower end zip codes? You know, well, okay, look, Double G is probably talking about low end stuff. I mean, if he's talking about the ghetto, It's hard to get any lower than that, I think. And I've gone into those areas. If you ever see Straight Outta Compton, back when that took place in '84, I was there looking for real estate. I didn't buy anything, and I got a whole different story on that. We'll get into another day. I think I've actually done one story on that one too, where I met Mr. Brown, who ran the liquor store out there. Anyways, I'm getting a low battery on here, so I'm gonna have to go. I've been here 45 minutes, but I just wanted to catch up. I got so many videos I hadn't put out yet. Oh, here we go. Double G. Agent was getting 3%, and I offered her $750 to make it work, and another $750 if it closes. So basically, he paid $1,500. Yeah, cool. Like it. Sounds good, man. I love to hear it, and listen. He's doing that in the hood, and it's relative to anywhere, everywhere, rural, way out in the middle of the country, out in the desert, doesn't matter. I bought properties out in the middle of the desert and resold them for more money. I've bought them in close. I've bought them in established neighborhoods that have been there 50 years where there's been a vacant lot sitting there since the subdivision was open, and I talked the person into selling it to me. These are opportunities are everywhere. People sell property under market for a bunch of different reasons. And if you haven't watched all my videos, just watch my videos. And, and Double G, you start making some videos too, because that's a good story. But I've bought properties, land, commercial, residential, industrial, I can't even name all, and in so many different circumstances. It's kind of like when I have a property I go to lease. Sometimes I'll think, it's a big open shell, just big open. And I'll think, what, I need to throw some walls in here and throw in some rooms. And once in a while I'll do that. I'll think, I'll throw a piece of carpet in here. Costs money. And then somebody will come in after I throw in a couple of walls and I put down the carpet and they'll go, man, it's perfect. We'll take it for a 3-year lease. Just tear out all these walls and pull the carpet. And so it's like, in other words, you can't predict. In that case, what I'm talking about, I can't predict what the tenant is going to want, because I'm almost always wrong. If I put the carpet down, they're going to want tile, or they're not going to want carpet. If I put walls up, they're going to want the walls torn out. So you just deal with what you got. And real estate-wise, like I say, in Double G knows, it's relative. It's relative. You could be doing this on $1 million homes, $500,000, $200,000, $30,000 homes, $10,000 lots, $5,000 lots, $2,000 lots, and they're out there, believe it or not. It's all relative, and you just find your comfort zone with what you can do, and the more money you make, the more money you got, the more money you can play with. I don't want to say risk, because I don't believe in risk. And you know what, earlier, I'm sorry, who asked me if I'd ever lost money on a piece of real estate? Yeah, like it, Double G. Appreciate you chiming in, really do. I got to get more stuff going here. I've just been too busy. But, oh yeah, lost money. Yeah, have I lost money on a property? Yes. Only one. Only one that I can think of. And what it was is about 25, 30 years ago again. And I'd already been, I've been doing this stuff I've been doing this, hard to believe, 37 years, okay? But about over 30 years ago, I had already gone through probably 10 or so houses and some land, and I found 80 acres. And I think it was 80 acres for $320,000, sounds right. What's the math on that? 5, 4, 3, 6, 5. So I guess it was about $4,000 an acre. Yeah, $4,000 an acre for 80 acres. $320,000. A buddy of mine, I said, hey, let's buy this thing. $100,000 down, balance of whatever, $220,000. So we bought this thing. It was adjacent to property. I have a beautiful, actually, I gotta remember this now. I'll probably forget. But I have a beautiful no trespassing sign. It says no trespassing. And this sign was probably 30 years old then when I bought this property. Because it's out in the boondocks. But anyways, back to the story. I still have still have that little for sale sign or no trespassing sign. Anyways, what happened was we bought this property for $320,000, $100,000 down. Not long after that, I moved out of the area. The economy just tanked, really tanked hard. And I was spending all my time, just trying. I had notes. People were making payments to me on land. I probably went through 30 properties now that I think about it by that time. And this is over 30 years ago. I'd already sold 30 properties. And so I'm collecting notes. I'm buying a property for 10, selling it for 20, getting 5, put in my pocket, carrying a note for 5. And hey guys, be sure to like my videos while you're here, while you're watching, and be sure to share and subscribe, please. But anyways, so on that one, what happened was everything tanked. Well, the property wasn't worth the $220 that we owed on it anymore. And it was an owner finance deal. And I'm like, you know what? It's not even worth probably $150 now. And we owe $220. Or maybe it's not even worth $100 because just times are tough. And so I called my buddy who's my partner. I said, hey, you know what? We're wasting our money making payments on this note anymore. It's not worth what we paid for it. Things gotten really tough. And I said, I want to just give it back. What do you think? He said, well, he goes, I just paid them another $50,000 down. I go, oh, are you kidding? What we'd do is we had like $1,000 a month payment, and we'd each pay $500 a month. And so what he did, or something like that, he sent them a check for another $50,000 without telling me, which reduced the interest. And so he was sending a lower payment. And I'm like, well, even with that $50,000 that he had paid down, it still wasn't worth what we owed on it. And I said, okay. I said, well, look, let's do this. Let's let it go. We'll give it back to him. So I deeded it back to the owners. And I said, and I'll owe you, because I didn't even have the money at the time. I said, and I'll owe you 25. I'll owe you. So in other words, it was in that situation, it was only because it was my buddy. I said, okay, look, I'll pay you $25,000 and we'll give back the property. So we gave the property back basically to the people we bought it from. And then I paid him back the $25,000 over a period of time, just to, get it done, get it over with. And what do we got here? GG's, any text? Okay. Oh, good. All right, man, you guys keep networking. Double G, man, thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate your input. It's inspirational. It really is. So I appreciate you sharing with everybody. And you guys that are watching this here, look at the comments however you can. And let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, Mr. G, I do remember that. So Mr. G, he said he got a $250,000 huge Brady Bunch home. I think he's quoting me from, I remember that. I think from when I was talking to, what's his name? Ty, right? Yep. He says, Tom, LOL, remember that Brady Bunch home you had? Yep. So he's got that's awesome. So he's got a 5 to 7 bedroom, full bath, 2-car garage, 3,700. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I remember very well. He's talking about, and congratulations on your big home. I bought a place for like $145, and it was beautiful. End of a cul-de-sac, enormous. It had like 45 cypress trees. They were probably 40 feet tall, all the way around the perimeter. Big kidney-shaped swimming pool, palm trees, grapevines along one wall, big 2-story home. I called it like a big old Brady Bunch style home. Yeah, that was, I think that comment I made was when I was on Ty, well, not Ty, what's his name? Ty Man. Flip Man. Anyways, Ty the Flip Man. Anyways, another great guy that flips property. And I recommend you watch his stuff too. Neat guy. But anyways, on there we talked about this Brady Bunch style home that I bought. And it was exactly that. It was just a big old huge home like he just described. Mine was a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, game room, pool. It had a little sport court for playing basketball on the side of the house too. Beautiful, beautiful home. And anyways, I just rented out one part of it, a wing out to a buddy of mine, and it was just a cool little bachelor pad at the time for several years for me, and until I found somebody that I wanted to marry. But yeah, Flip Man, thanks. It's Ty, yeah, Ty the Flip Man. Golly, I'm getting old. I'm having trouble remembering. But thanks, Double G. And I remember you commenting back then. Somebody laughed and said, he just said Brady Bunch. So anyways, guys, I know my battery's damn near dead. Thanks a lot. Always enjoy sharing, and I like it when you guys participate and talk to me and share with everybody else. It's good. And you know what? It's inspirational, and that's all I care about. I just want to see you guys make some money. And, I'll share everything I got, and you can always, write me, and if I can help you, I will. I just don't like you asking questions that you could have already learned from the video. And, but other than that, thanks, and thanks, Double G. Thanks, Willem. And thanks, everybody, Scott, Fosh, and everybody else. Always like your participation. Khalid, and who else we got here? I don't know. Anyhow, but I do appreciate it. William. Anyways, you guys have a good one, and I'm glad we could catch up some. And I'll try to get some of these videos I've got in the archives and start sharing them out again. So have a good night, and Flip Anything. Be sure to share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys again.